I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Pint Podcast.
What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Pint Podcast and Pod and a Pint, episode 8. We are in Shenanigans once again on the Guinness. Errol's just sunk.
On the caffeine.
He's on the Red Bull. Sending him to sleep already. But yeah, I'm joined by Errol. How are you doing, lad?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Nice one for having us in.
Nice little cosy corner, isn't it?
That's a nice little setup, isn't it? Yeah. I love the Jamaican shirts up there. I just never thought I'd see it.
Yeah. I'll put a picture on Twitter of that.
Yeah.
That is boss.
It is quality. Yeah, I'm feeling it. But no, it's got a nice vibe to it. I like it.
Yeah, nice and cozy in the corner. Like I said, like one of the other episodes, like just dartboard behind us, and that was one of the first comments. Like on, like anyone going to start launching darts as well?
Yeah,
because like just the shots under there that people are just taking, and it's got all over the wall, and that's just hilarious. But yeah, like we do on these shows, we're obviously going to talk about Liverpool and the Reds so far, and Arne Slot, all that good stuff. What we're going to do first is opening question, and it was actually AGT from Cop TV who gave us this one.
We've got man like Alex.
He was on episode 5, and we had a good little chat with him, so we're going to go and watch that one, go and have a look. But yeah, I think it's one of them. I googled it. I think we probably both googled it before we answered this question, because one of them, you don't want to get stuck into murky ground about what it is or what it isn't.
I'm going to anyway. I'm still going to end up falling that line with my, because I've seen a picture of one. I'm like, if that gets classed as a biscuit, I'm going for it.
Yeah, but top 3 biscuits. You don't even have to do top 3. You can do like what's your favourite.
Well, I feel like if I'm going to do top 3 and they're going to be like widely accepted as biscuits, it's probably a niche biscuit, a bourbon, however you want to pronounce it. There are different pronunciations, and then a jammy dodger. You don't have as much jammy dodginess in them as they used to. I remember when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, dude.
But then if I want a proper outside, hot take, is it a biscuit? Is it a cake? But a Jaffa cake.
Jaffa cake.
They are. I'll go through at least a box of Jaffa cakes a week. They're the ones that I will definitely go through. Now I understand people might start kicking off in the comments and be like, that's not a biscuit, but I'm having it. Like, that's my wild card.
Yeah, Jaffa cake, 12 in a pack. You can easily just launch them.
Scram them 5 seconds.
12 bites in it. 12, you're gone.
Literally. I remember the adverts that they used to do, like that full moon, half moon.
Yeah, totally clipped.
Full at the market and all smash back in the day.
Yeah, we absolutely hammered it there. I would, chocolate digestive for me is just like, with a cup of tea. You know what though? Might be a bit of a rogue shout, but I little ginger nut with a cup of tea.
I don't drink teas or coffees. That's why I'm on the. That's like my little caffeine boost.
Some will get elevated by a cup of tea, so if you don't have that, then
No, I could go for the ginger nut though.
Yeah, but you need like a little.
I feel like with them, I end up just having them in my mouth for ages. Though, just like saving the taste as opposed to proper scanning them. But
yeah, just fucking as well. I mean, like if you're getting into like a little penguin or something, but then it's like you're getting into chocolate bar territory.
You're gonna have to come back at us in the comments.
Going too rogue with it, lad. But just plenty. But yeah, let us know what yours is in the comments if you want. But like I said, we're going to talk about the Reds and all the quality stuff that Liverpool have been doing this season. But let's talk about you a little bit before we get into that. Like, obviously, a Redmen regular. I love the little like the group photo, and then someone said Photoshop me in, and then someone done like a proper boss where you just sat there. I was like, oh my god, so good. How's it all going? Obviously, a regular and absolutely smashing it.
Do you know what? I love it. I love the lads on the channel. Big up, obviously, everybody: Paul, Chris, Steve, Dan, Chloe, all of the production staff. You've been great. I've been with them now for a number of years in different kind of capacities, and probably over the last 3 seasons been more of a regular in terms of the watch-alongs, and it just kind of emerged as when things settled after lockdown and COVID, I wasn't as freely available to do the weekly shows just because of my work commitments, but obviously I was desperate to still be involved in the channel and the show in some capacity, so I offered myself to just be like, yo, can I get involved with the watch-alongs? Like, from my perspective, it was an ability to do quite a lot of content in the course of one day, and obviously
Definitely.
we have a number of different shows that go out. So it just seemed to fit a lot better for me personally, and hopefully them. And then over the course of 2, 3 seasons, we've had some mad moments where we've won the League Cup, the FA Cup. I've been involved in them, those watch along streams. Had some Real Madrid streams that have been massive. I've been there for the 7-0 against Man United that have been massive. So I think there's just been some real moments, and I think people really just take to it and vibe to it. And I think the whole watch along kind of content has really grew into its own in the last couple of years. Again, across the board, not just obviously what Redmen do, but there's some other big channels for other teams that are doing watch alongs more often than not. Yeah, obviously he's the big one.
Like the views, just when you click on it randomly, and it's just like, how are that many people watching it? It's just mad.
And then Expressions the other day from Tottenham, obviously they didn't have the greatest game against the Ev, and there was 22 crashing it on them, 22,000 just to watch it. We don't typically get that as much, because I think Liverpool, and I do a lot of the home games, we've been very good. So it's kind of, we'll get steady numbers, and sometimes, depending on the game and who it is, the numbers will shoot up massively. But I do massively enjoy that. And it was funny today, as I was been in town throughout the course of the day, doing various different bits, and some guy stopped me in the street and was like, Errol, off the Redmen. And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, he turned around, and I thought, that's always nice. I still don't really know how to take that kind of approach, because people seem to know a lot more about you than you do them, because you don't see them in the same way. But he turned around and was like, what you're doing as boss, we love the way that you host and all the rest of it, which was nice. But then he was like, and you're a boss for me mental health. And that to me was like huge. Better than just saying I recognise you. I don't know that that's what it does for people. So the fact that someone in the moment was appreciative enough, and I've got his name here, funnily enough, so I'm going to big him up here on this show, and I hope that he sees it, and then I'm going to big him up again when I do my watch along on Saturday. But Ian Barnes and Peter White, if you are watching, if you're a Red fans, thank you for stopping me earlier today. I do really appreciate it, and all the best for the rest of the season, lads.
Well, it's one of them, you don't realise the other effects that something that might just seem like a normal thing to you might help someone else. And I think in terms of what you're saying about the other people, like the Goldbridges and all that, when you watch a Redmen watch along, it's not people aren't tuning in for the negativity, because there's not, if we can see the goal, it's not
the end of the world.
There's no cups getting launched. There's no there's no people smashing.
We're not clickbait in that sense. So that's why or not.
It's a natural genuine watch along, rather than
Paul and Steve the other day when they, you know what I mean? And he was made
that's class, though, isn't it?
That's class, you know what I mean? So we've all had those kind of moments. To see Chris is one at the moment where he's doing we've all had little moments like that, but it's more out of adulation as opposed to being deflated and the results haven't gone our way and it's a bit of a meltdown. And we do get clipped from time to time, and it does do the rounds, and my mum's hot on them. She's always looking for clip channels to say, you compilated you together, and you're in this one, you're in that one. And I just laugh at it, really, but I think it's just, again, from a community sense, I just enjoy engaging with people, because one of the most humbling things outside of that gentleman stopping me in the street today is there are people all over the world. When we say, let us know what time it is, what you're eating, and where you're watching it from, all we get responses from every corner. And I just love the fact that Liverpool as a team and as a city has that level of global reach. It's unbelievable, and I think that's just what makes one of the elements that make our club so special and resonates with so many people. So I'm proud that I'm able to kind of play a small part in what Redmen have done for the fan football community for over a decade now. I think they deserve a lot of fucking plaudits for that, you know what I mean?
Well, they were pioneers, weren't they? Do you know what I mean?
They were the first, you get me? So you might not get the AFTV and chill type of memes and that type of content that has people waiting to just binge it in the same respect. But in terms of within those circles, those lads, Paul and Chris, obviously, and obviously the likes of Steve, Dan, and the team now, the wider team, they get a lot of respect from well-respected people in the independent media and now the media, which I think is testament to how far that space has come. So unbelievable, because the work ethic as well, it's second to none. The grind just doesn't stop over there. They're literally on it 24/7.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been over there a few times, obviously, the last couple of years, and even just the setup, I just think it blows you away as well. You just walk and you're fucking hell, there's the bit where they record that, and there's the bit that they record that, and you're just it's just a room, but like you see, because you're seeing it,
It's transformed. Yeah, you
it's
see it
mad.
through a lens, you think it's, and you've just transformed it over the years. I remember, like, because I used to watch it before I was ever a part of it, as we all probably did, do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm watching it, and it was the little sofas. I remember the little sofas that they used to have back in the day, where there was like sofas there, and the sofas there. And I think the time I got in with them the first time, just before COVID happened, they still had that set. And then the set changed for COVID, so there was a little bit more space. They spaced it out a little bit. And then this season, they've done the whole revamp, and it just looks wicked. Like, in terms of the production quality, they've just found ways to just consistently level up to make sure that it's fresh, engaging, and you know, it's credible, whichever way you look at it, whether it's going to be on TikTok, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're getting your audio, the quality and what you're actually getting as a final product from fan media is just incredible.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, the pioneers, but like the level that they've got to is through, like you said, through hard. It's not just through luck. It's,
No,
it's
not
hard
at
work,
all.
dedication.
They've grafted the lives off. They've had the ups and downs. Don't get it twisted. They have the critics, and like I get both sides of the argument. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get why people want them to be more vocal over certain things, and I get
Ownership
why
usually.
It's usually FSG, and I get it, and I get why they, again, from my perspective, I've seen them be vocal. So I always think it's more a case of you're not watching enough of their content consistently to actually know what their message or stance is. You're just seeing the fact that they pump out a high volume of content, and because you can't see that one that's got FSG out branded all over it, your head just falls off, and you want more from them. But I've sat there, I've had conversations with them, I've challenged them, we went back and forth. Do you know what I mean? We've had open debates about what Liverpool can be doing better, how we can improve, what the ownership needs to look like. And they'll have those conversations. They don't shy away from them. Do you know what I mean? But again, you can't please all people at all times, and that's one of the things I do respect them for a lot. They're not asked. They know they've got a good community that understands them on a level enough and enjoys the content that they provide, and that's who they're servicing. And I think any content creator, understanding your audience and keeping them engaged and looking after your audience is paramount. And I think from that perspective, I think they do a really good job of doing that.
Massively. Well, even like just this, I've not done this that too long, like, but even like just getting people from like America, like getting comments off them. Like I said on like one of the earlier episodes, there's some fella called Rob who's in San Francisco. I mentioned the mics. Still haven't upgraded them. Rob,
they're on the way. They're on the way,
Rob. Do you know what I mean? They're on the way. We're going to up the production value of this baby now that we have to. But yeah, talk about Redmen. Let's talk about Google Pixel. Got to talk about that, because that was just like getting to meet like Virgin and
that was a moment, man.
It must have just been class.
Yeah, and do you know what? At one point afterwards, I felt kind of bad because I felt like I was a little bit of a jinx, because afterwards Alisson went off injured and the support line went off injured as well. Period. And then obviously the season doesn't end in, you know, Klopp's farewell season the way we expected. But at the time, it just felt like it was going to be everything. We was going to lift everything. We was on the up. You know, we had a bit of a rebuild in the midfield. We looked like we had more energy. The lads all seemed geared up for it. Klopp had obviously just broke the fact that it was going to be his last season, so it felt like there was added motivation and behind it all. And we feed off that emotion. I think in the end, it was probably a little bit too much for us to handle, and everyone was a little bit conflicted in the emotion. How do we feel? You know, stepping into the unknown. So many like host of feelings just washed over people for so long. And but in that moment, no, it was brilliant, because you know they got in touch to obviously ask me to be a part of it. Like anyone just said yes, Jason. You don't have to think about it. Go ahead, get me involved. And they had me down on the docks, and we had bad weather this winter. But there was 1 week last year where it was a bad spell, and it was quite icy and snowy at the beginning of the year. And I was genuinely thinking, they're going to have me in the middle of town. There's going to be hardly anybody out. It's going to be crickets. Do you know what I mean? Trying to get people to engage. And it was meant to be a surprise element. And so obviously being able to surprise people, and then obviously try and steer them towards this pop-up photo shoot where the players would then emerge and get involved and kind of surprise random people within the public. So really well executed. The lads and girls on the set, they all looked after me. It was interesting because before that I did there's a marketing research agency that reached out as well and asked me to do something for New Balance. For Harvey Elliott at the time, so I didn't get to work with them in any capacity, but I got to just like film a little bit that they use for the part of their marketing strategy with New Balance and him. And I went and bought a pair of Nike Dunks, and I was like, right, New Balance have paid for me Dunks. I'm going to use me Dunks, and that's the first day I'm going to wear them for that shoot. So then I was with them. Obviously, you've got to be on brand because everything was nice. So I had that kind of patterned in my mind. And then, obviously, we did the shoot. It went down really well. Verge was lovely. Signed a shirt for me. Allison, so it was like, they all signed the shirt for me, took pictures. They was able to watch me kind of like on this. He was watching what I was doing in the public in the street. I think spent as much time with them as I'd probably like, but it was just nice the fact that like I sit and spend my Saturdays and Sundays watching you, and now you sitting watching me. Which is a little bit surreal. And then on the back of that, I ended up in Wembley for the Carabao Cup, so I seen Klopp's last final, and obviously the lads lift the trophy. And I was on tender hooks the whole way. I'd never been to a cup final. You know what I mean? Like, I'd never been to a cup final to experience it. And I dreaded Chelsea because last time I was in the watch along studio with the lads, and I had, Ross had coats over his eyes and all the rest of it. And Keller had scored penalties to get us through, and we win in the Carabao Cup. And throughout the course of the game, I'm sending footage back and forth to my mum. So I'm taking little bits of footage here and there. And I've now decided this is the last corner of the game. It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever will be, will be. Let me just record it. And I only went and recorded the winner and then the celebration around me afterwards.
Unreal.
And because I was still in the group chat from the Google production, and they gave me a phone to use on the day that I was able to keep. Thank you very much, Google. Very fortunate. Obviously, the shot was taken on a Google Pixel 8. So I sent it to them. And then he got back to me and was like, can we use this on our socials the next day? And I was like, yeah, of course, you can, like, go for it, do you know what I mean? And then that blew up on socials, and I was just like, it was another unreal moment, all because of, like, that little thread. So over the course of that month, it was just one thing led to the next, and they all just kind of blended into one, but it was a moment, let me put it that way.
Yeah, what I loved it when we saying they were watching you, it was like your, like, struggle trying to convince people. And he was just like, nah. Just like walking past you and you're just like, oh, fucking hell. I'm just seeing you having to like G yourself up again and convince someone to go in.
And then obviously people hopefully watching back will think, I only had to listen to him. I'm stressed out on being there or whatever. But big up everybody that obviously took the time out and came in, and I hope they thought it was a brilliant surprise. That, like, especially like the little girl, she was one of them, and like I'll always remember her face. She just dropped, the jaw dropped, couldn't believe who she was with. You know what I mean? In those photos, so really well thought through, really well put together, and it was nice because, again, just from my background of doing little bits in the media before, kind of football fan content, I've always appreciated that kind of like creative side of filming. So to be a part of it as well as be a fan and it be really authentic, it was just, definitely a moment.
I think them videos that were class though, aren't they? Like, the one that always sticks out for me is the when Verge goes up to the fella. Got quid for the trolley.
They smash it.
They absolutely smash out the park, don't they, with them? They're just so good to watch. Like, especially they've, like, obviously there's a sad story behind them.
The little lad, I am terrible with his name. The little lad is Isaac. I want to say it's Isaac. His video. I know. I've got a little lad now myself, and I was just welling up. Welling up, though. I'm sat there like a couple of days after Christmas just watching it, and I was just like, he's a proper little legend, that kid, you know what I mean? The way he just walked through the acts, I just like,
It was like, where's Slot?
He just owned it like he'd been in the building 100 times before. And as I say, I think they have a real knack of being able to just find brilliant stories and proper local heartwarming messages. Again, him had the world in one city, the Nivea experience with Trent. All of those moments is what Liverpool brand partners have been able to do. It's not just making content for the sake of making content to sell products. Obviously, commercial, there's got to be a level of that.
Of course,
But they found a way to make it as authentic and the right threads throughout the city where everybody can still take something away from it and all parties are happy at the end.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone's a winner, aren't they? If you're going to tell a good story about and or like highlight a certain thing that you need to highlight, but also you've got the money and stuff to pump behind it, and it's going to give you a bit of a good bit of positivity off it as well, and it works for everyone, doesn't it? But yeah, let's talk about the Reds then, because we've got to. That's what we're here for. The Reds have been I mean, we're going to talk about Lille and Ipswich, but like so far, like season, I've done it like this is episode 8, but I've done like a few, and I've kind of asked this question to everyone, like to try and like put it into words, like what this season is, because it's like obviously like nothing's won yet. Got to caveat that with everything, but the way we've been playing and like the way Slot's took to it all, and I just found myself like when you're like winning games and winning games and winning games. Obviously, we've had a few draws here and there, like recently. But then we obviously get back on the winning side against Lille last night. But like the way that we've been playing footy,
even the game before that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Against Brentford, that
exactly,
late,
yeah,
like,
quality, and it's just been a joy to watch. And I think I've mostly loved it that we're doing boss, but I've also loved it that everyone else is. I'd like to been fucked. Been waiting for the drop off, and it's not came.
It's not games, and I hope it doesn't this season at least. I think there's this, from my perspective, how I see it as a Liverpool fan anyway. We've kind of got this way of doing the most unbelievable things and feats in world football, but then also seeing the most mundane things feel like we're climbing a mountain and we have to do things the hard way. And it just feels like that more often than not. So I feel like that's kind of over in my lifetime, especially watching the Reds. Obviously, older generations, my mum and my uncle, and that will tell me at different times how they grew up and seeing the Reds just flourishing year on year. It was second nature. But we've seen things be done the hard way, and we've had our hearts broken along the way as well.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, and I always just think that's kind of embedded in our culture of being Liverpool fans. Like this, my generation, your generation, that sort of thing. The younger generation, maybe not so much, because nearly a good 10 years now we've been decent or seen enough decent football to say that we're a good club again. And I just think what Slot's been able to do is very calming. So I'm not used to it. That like at this point in the season where everything's kind of going the way we'd want it to, I'm not as nervous as I probably had been in previous seasons. And maybe that's because City aren't like chasing down our heels as well. So you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief to an extent. But yeah, I sit there and I think at the moment what he's actually got, and I do a couple of like panel shows with other fan creators from the likes of Arsenal or Saeed over from Man U and all the rest of it. And I've sat there from the start of the season and been very adamant, rightly or wrongly. I believe that the owners went and recruited a head of coach for a reason. They didn't go for a manager. Now, if they would have went out for a manager, the Hansi Flick, say, for example, who's somebody I wanted, in the summer, was available, went over, obviously goes to Barcelona. He's doing really well with Barcelona at the minute himself. But I thought, manager with calibre, you can say his name in the same bracket as Jurgen Klopp, for example. There are other managers there. I probably wouldn't have had a Graham Potter. There was other managers that you could speak of. But ultimately, a manager worth his weight, or believed he was worth his weight in gold, would have turned around to the owners and said, I like what you've got, but what are you going to give me to take you where I want to go? And this is my vision. And ultimately, that would have come with a request and a demand for a transfer budget, so they could wield that in the summer to try and put their stamp on their team in instantly. Do you know what I mean? And just get it over the line. And I believe that we opted against that in favour of getting a head coach, because a head coach's primary function is to work with the players in training, have a proper full pre-season, work with them in the weeks between games, getting them to play a particular style, which isn't all too different than the style we was actually used to. So on paper, it seemed to work a lot better than Amorim's style let's say that, for the because of obviously his 3 at the back and that formation change, it would have meant that we'd have had to do a lot more with our players to try and shoehorn them into that system. And the objective was to get an extra 10, 15% out of certain players, because we still had a very fit for purpose squad, as I just mentioned, with the Google. At that time last year, 12 months ago, it looked like we could go on and win all 4 if the wheels didn't fall off and all the emotion didn't kind of come to the full. And I've just been banging that drum that 2 things. I'm going to enjoy this season for the moments, and I'm just going to be present in the moment. My expectations, I want Champions League the following year, and I want a sick cup run that I can be like, I want to be a part of that in some way and get involved at some point. And I expect to see his man management and his backroom staff to get an extra 10, 15% out of, maybe not everybody, but enough players that you can feel like that will have a net positive and be a distance over the course of a season. And up until now, he's ticked every single one of them boxes because Gravenberch is the first and foremost, head and shoulders above the Gravenberch we was watching last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows his position. He knows what he is. He knows how important and integral he is to anything good within what Liverpool potentially could achieve this season. He'll be at the heart of it first and foremost. 12 months ago, you might not have been able to say that because he was too much of an unknown quantity. Cody Gakpo, again, utility man last year, getting played here, there, and everywhere, and did his best. But again, never really nailed down his position to definitively say, this is what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be. Luis Diaz, at times, I've given him a little bit of stick, and I make no secrets about it. He's not like Sadio Mane, do you know what I mean? And what he was able to do for us, I'm not taken to Diaz in the same way. He frustrates me, but I do still love when he plays great and it's boss to watch.
Yeah.
But I used to sit there and I think if he can get collectively a little bit more, I think Trent defensively has been a little bit better. Keller, for what he's had to come in and step up and do, he's been brilliant for us. And that's just been my modus apparatus for this season. It was make sure you qualify, make sure there's a good cup run. If we win something, great, but I'm not telling you in your first season you've got to come in and win. Big shoes to fill anyway. I don't want to put that level of pressure on your head. Obviously, then I want to see you getting more out of these players. I want to see what you're able to do with this front three. I'm still not convinced we've got the ideal solution in the number 9 yet. I don't think we've got a 9 that he wants to play in his style.
Yeah.
But he's got enough credit in the bank now that I can give him time and that he's working with what he's got still. And now there is the expectations can change throughout the course of a season. And now my expectation has changed because of the position that he's put us in, but that's only a positive. So, from the end of the season, if we didn't win it, yeah, I'd be gutted because we've been in such a strong position for so long. But he's shown me that he's got enough composure and level of calm about him that I think he's going to manage it game by game in such a way that the points will ultimately be the defining factor. And good luck to anybody else trying to match our points total this season, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I think the confidence that he's got, but it's the boldness and like he's to the point. I think like that took a bit of getting, like you said it before, you referenced it, like it took a bit of getting used to because we weren't used to that. We were used to Klopp being like a bit larger than life character. And then we go into this fella, he just comes out and calls a spade a spade. You know what I mean? He just says it exactly how it is. I think you mentioned just there, and I think it's a good point. Like all the good things he's done, but one of the things that maybe doesn't get talked about that much is he's made people understand their position better, and he's allowed them to like you said, Gravenberch wouldn't. If you sort of said a year ago, "Oh, Gravenberch is going to be your starting 6," and he'd be fucking like gliding past people and throwing tackles in slideys and winning headers, just sending people.
And he can play centre back as well.
And that as well.
He needs to do a shift.
But you'd be like, no chance. He got a bit more out of Trent in terms of defensively. Now he's had his up and downs like United. Everyone's talking about that. But like I think he's been better defensively
on the whole. Yeah,
Gakpo's been better. He's more like, but like what I just love is that he goes right. He's obviously just came in and said, Gakpo, you're going to play on the left. That's it. Diaz, you're going to play left, right. Salah, where you're going to always play. Gravenberch, you're going there. He's just told people where they're going to play. Like Szoboszlai, if it's not Szoboszlai, it's going to be Jones. If it's not Jones, it's going to be Elliott. And then the midfield's like more settled. Obviously, they can move around a little bit more. But like it's having those structured. Where I think on the Slot, under Klopp, it was more like you want a player who's going to come in and can play 6 positions, and you might not know where they're going to be
from one game to the next.
But in this, you know where they're going to be, and we can still move around and stuff in terms of like in transition and all that. But it's having the solidity to tell the person you're going to be here, and I want you to be here. And I think that helps them have a clearer picture of what they need to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it does. And I think it gives them the confidence then that they don't have to have 101 different thoughts in their head and have to kind of filter through it all for the instructions. Week by week, they can focus on their game and maximising their game. And I think that's what's helped. And as I go back to the point of getting that extra 5 or 10%, that to me, how I seen it at the start of the season, was what I was going to hope to be the difference between legs falling off towards the back end of the season and getting yourselves over the line in some of the major competitions. Yeah. And I hope that, again, we've still got quite a large chunk of the season left to play, but we've put ourselves in a very healthy position. If we was, operating from strength as we are now, you'd go and get another couple of additions to just shore it up and give everybody a bit of sigh of relief collectively. Yeah. Like, we can take, not like we don't need to go down a gear or so, but we've got enough now. But I mean, the one thing I went back to from the Lille game last night, and to bring it back to, last night's game, was strength and depth. I think someone put out their tweet yesterday, 5 of the last goals or games we've been involved in, I'm going to butcher it now, but it's been an involvement from a substitute. So it's like the strength and depth, especially when you look in comparison to, Arsenal, who were the contenders in the title race with us, do you know what I mean? They would die to have a Harvey Elliott coming off the bench, a Chiesa coming off the bench, a Darwin Núñez, that profile of player that can be an actual game changer. They'd absolutely kill for that right now, because it's one of the things that they lack. They might think, yeah, we can go toe for toe with Liverpool over an 11 versus 11. But when it comes to turning over the shoulder, and Arteta's looking to who to bring on, there aren't any real game changers. I get that they've had injuries, but we've had our injuries as well, and we've had our hearts broken on seasons when injuries have gone against us, and everyone's just said, I can't moan about injuries, get on with it. So I'm a little bit like, well, what goes around comes around, get on with it, do you know what I mean? We found solutions. We had Nat Phillips and Reece Williams at centre-back at the San Siro, and mad things like that going out, do you know what I mean? So I still managed to finish third, so, don't come at me with those excuses, people. And I just think that's one of the things at this moment in time that I hope, as alongside the extra 5-10%, the strength and depth that we've got, the fact that he's managed the squad quite well, so those players in terms of strength and depth fresh whenever they come on and all have a point to prove. I hope in this back stretch of the season now it just allows us to navigate things where we normally sit on tender hooks and have got a little bit of roasties and we're a little bit anxious over. And we was, don't get me wrong, the Brentford game was a perfect example of that, you know what I mean? Like, it genuinely felt like we've seen this happen before. It's a missed opportunity. But we found a way, and then it turned into like, a Newcastle game of a Origi a couple of seasons ago, or Darwin Núñez is against Newcastle, the late winning against them. It turns into one of those games where now we're talking about it as, we could be onto something special. Yeah.
But I think it's funny though, like you mentioned, the small margins. Like, if we don't, like, I think it was record 37 away shots in the Premier League game. Since records began in 2003, was it? So like 22 years. It's a long fucking time, isn't it? But so like, but what I mean, like, small margins. If we have them 37 shots and we don't win, or we don't get a goal or whatever, you're looking at going, that's such a fucking frustration. The fact that we get over the line, you can start talking about squad depth and like players coming off the bench, like Elliott had that hand in both goals, little interplay with Trent, and there's the assist for the second goal. So I think that's one of them. And like, especially you mentioned Leo, like we don't even give Canate a game last night. We give him a full rest because he's been talking about like coming back quick, and then like people are then getting nervous about like, is he rushing? Yeah. So people are getting into that.
Gravenberg's got 45 minutes worth of rest. I think that's vital for him.
McAllister as well.
And McAllister in the same breath. Obviously, Gakpo gets a rest. Trent gets nearly 90 minutes. He gets a fair rest. Robbo gets a rest. I think someone who's probably needed that little bit of rest, because they're not necessarily saying you've got to drop him, but being able to rest him allows, when he comes back, he's got a fresh mind, fresh body, and we expect him to be performing at the level then. Whereas if you're playing him 4 or 5 times, you can kind of start to understand why there's a bit of a drop off and a dip in his game. So I think it's about that balance and finding the right way to strike the balance at the moment. He had big shoes to fill, make no mistake about it. Jurgen Klopp is an absolute phenom, and he will be a Liverpool legend until I'll be telling my kids about him. I'll be expecting my son to tell his son or daughter about Jurgen Klopp, do you know what I mean? He was just an unbelievable character around the city and the club, and Slot's not been phased. A lot of people, and we've seen it, you look at the likes of Man U with Sir Alex Ferguson, you look at Arsene Wenger leaving. I think one of the things that the owners probably don't, and again, I'm not trying to blow smoke up the lads because I don't think they're perfect. I think there's a lot of things that they should and could be doing better for Liverpool Football Club, especially given how well we perform on the pitch. Their succession planning has been top quality. And you might look over it and you might think, oh, well, we had a great team anyway. But everybody, pundit-wise, if you rewind the clock, go find media from fan channels, the Skies, the TNTs, all the big pundits, the talk shows. Go and find content from last May to August, September, and 90% of them were predicting a Liverpool drop-off. They didn't predict that this team had the minerals. And I've said it before with the lads in the studio that it was very disingenuous to do that, because you're disrespecting some very top athletes. Like, you get Mayweather, and in a ring in his prime, and then say he's changing his coach. Does Mayweather become a shit boxer all of a sudden overnight?
Exactly.
He's still an athlete. You take Usain Bolt and say, yeah, we're going to give you another running coach, or Federer, or whoever it is. Change up their coaching dynamic. they're still a phenom at world football.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, Trent, like, they are at the top level, excellence of world football. Their professionalism was never going to be in question just because Jurgen Klopp went. Do you think their ambition died because Klopp left the building? No, they wanted to still do things for themselves, get honours for themselves, medals, trophies, a lot of it. So I always thought it was a little bit premature to kind of expect Liverpool to drop off. I didn't expect it to be so steady and then to be a rise as well. That's probably taken a lot of us by surprise.
Yeah.
But the club's in a healthy shape, so why be surprised? We're primed to that. The other examples I gave you of Arsenal and Manchester United, they weren't left in a great shape, and I think everybody was looking at that as the reference point as to why, as to instead of actually thinking all of these factors, Liverpool have checked those boxes and covered their arse basically. And as long as they get the right type of profile of manager, there's no reason for them not to be able to be still competitive. I think was the whole, that's the baseline. But even how you said to me before, he come in and his first thing was, he's straight talking. His first thing he said was, "No, I know I'm here to win. I'm here to win trophies. I'm here to win the Prem. I'm here to win this. If I don't win the Prem, I'm failing."
Yeah.
Put like yourself under a lot of pressure there, like, because even Klopp gave himself 5 years.
He did. He said, I'll win 5 years. But what I like is that he didn't come in and say like, I need time. I need like time to do this. He just went, I'm gonna try and get the best out of these players, and just kind of like. But he still mentions it now. He mentioned it last night after the game. He said like, the first thing you want to do is come in and implement your playing style, and it weren't that hard because it was quite similar anyway.
Yeah.
But then there's these players like Van Dijks and Trents and Salahs and like just like the Alissons. There's superstars all over the place, so they're not gonna drop off. And what the new thing that I saw, like there was the hope of the rival fans of saying like, "Oh, Liverpool and drop off." Then we didn't. The new one now that I've started seeing is does Slot diminish Klopp's legacy if he wins the Premier League? And I'm like, have you got any idea how footy works? He laid the foundations and left it in a healthy state. Alex Ferguson just fucking fucked off.
With the Asian squad,
set it for himself to win a bit more, and then
just dipped. And again, and Arsene Wenger was already a waning power by the time he's obviously left Arsenal, and obviously the hostility around him didn't help that, and the club wasn't in a healthy state at the time. But I think that's why I've got to give credit to whoever you want to, apportion that credit to, whether it's Klopp and his team or FSG. The succession planning and the way that Liverpool had managed the team. And yeah, you can still pick holes in that because obviously the contract situation at the moment is the big area where you think, how have you allowed that situation to happen? And you can't avoid that. That is a serious conversation. But if that's the worst that it's been out of all of the other factors that we don't even have to think about now because we're taking them for granted. Because we're so good, we are just taking them for granted. But it could have been a whole lot worse, and we could have had actual real reasons to moan about the situation and the state of our football club. Could have been worried about our future.
Exactly.
No Liverpool fan is really worried about the future of the club. You might be worried about the future of players and their circumstances, and I get that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the future of the club, it looks like it's going to be in a healthy condition. You've got first-class training facilities. The improved Anfield. They want to, continue to invest in the right areas within the squad in their own way, which is their model, which they've done for the best part of 10 years now. And you just think on the pitch, it's still working with a world-class. Yeah, I think he's a world-class manager now as well. A world-class manager that's implemented what he wants from his players. So many areas are holding it up great. And you just think to yourself, the future's bright, you know what I mean? Because all the teams are in the process of having to rebuild. Liverpool have managed to find this level of continuity that nobody's seen coming. And I think even Liverpool fans have been surprised by it. I've definitely been surprised by it. But I think Slot deserves a lot of credit because he still had big shoes to fill and he still had to get the buy-in from the players. And I think the one thing that has served him really well is, in terms of getting the buy-in, winning games of footy will help a lot. You know what I mean? And you win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. All of a sudden, when you're telling them, right, this is what I want you to do, you're listening because, well, it's been working. If it's not been working, you might have doubts. You might start having people in your ear, family, friends. Then you might have your agents in your ear. That opportunity's lurking for you. There's this, but at the moment, everybody's the players that aren't in a dubious contract situation are in a place to just block out the noise. Like even Hardy Elliott yesterday. dead in the numbers because I'm fully focused on what the task is at hand, and I just think that's what he's implemented, and you've got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, and I think as well, like if it did go a bit awry and we were in 5th or 6th or whatever, like this contract stuff becomes more of an issue as well, because then we're like, oh,
we're going to lose our best players.
He isn't going to stay because we've proved that we're not that good this season. Sal's not going to stay because he wants to go and win more stuff. So it's all that stuff as well, which again, it's just there's so many strands to it, isn't it? But yeah, obviously we mentioned Lee a little bit. Let's talk about that a little bit, because we made it 7 out of 7 last night, and they get like
almost guaranteed to be top until Barca get a last minute
dagger.
Have you seen that game back?
I haven't watched it.
Oh, mate, the highlights, it's bonkers. It is a bonkers game. Like,
no, I need to go and watch it when I get back. But yeah, they were on a 21 game unbeaten streak, stretching back to September. Obviously beating Madrid and Let's Go on the way as well. So and you could see that the quality was there. Like in terms of setup, like we were happy to keep it at the back, but it was because they were so high up. There was no gaps. It was only when now and again, and we haven't even mentioned Quanti, who had a good game, balls over the top, but now and again, Quanti made a couple of like just those where you just punch it into the midfield, you can take it, get Gravenberch on the turn, let him go. It's them moments where obviously balls over the top work a treat as well, verge over to Salah like it always has. Like little bits like that where you've got to play around it, but I think credit to them, like they came with a game plan, and I thought they were really good. But I think it also, all the other stuff we've been talking about, like the players coming in, giving Canate a rest, giving Trent mostly a rest, Elliot coming in, Conte coming in, Champions League debut in terms of a start for Conte as well. I think all that stuff, and we still get over the line against the team who've been doing well, is a massive sign.
It's a massive sign. Again, I think it was a confidence boost to lads that needed that little bit of a G up on confidence. You know, I think Nunes carried his confidence, and even though he doesn't score, I think he's better. His decision making, especially in the first half, was a lot crisper. You know, and his work rate, he was tireless in that respect. Again, Harvey Elliott coming back in and wanting to make an impact, and you know, after half time, wanting to prove something. Being able to rest players was important, but I just felt like, and I did the watch along last night, and I said, considering that's a team that is unbeaten since September, the respect that they have for this Liverpool team, and the inability to really pose too much of a... They didn't have us under the cosh at any point.
No.
Like, we got up the momentum chart throughout the game, and there's that first early period when I think Bradley just can't really get straight into it. He doesn't hit the right level straight away. It takes him to kind of warm into the game. After that, it's all Liverpool. It seems to just have a little bit of a flat line, but then as soon as the momentum goes anyway, it's going more towards Liverpool, and they're just forcing themselves. It just shows that there's still levels to this, do you know what I mean? Like, the leaping quality from them being unbeaten. I know it wrong, they've had some scalps along the way, so fair play to them, but from them being unbeaten to how, not necessarily we've been unbeaten, but the records and the way that we've handled the Champions League and the Premier League so far this season, it just goes to show that there's still a huge gulf, and I just thought we are probably 2 or 3 levels above where they was, and I don't think that's probably Lille at their best, but if they got to their best, I don't think that they put us under the cosh for more than 5 or 10 minutes in the spell of a 90-minute game. And if you've got that level of control, you must be fucking good, do you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And I think at the moment, Liverpool, it looked a little bit hairy in the Man United game, the Tottenham game especially, and then obviously the FA Cup and the opposition's only Accrington Stanley. So with respect to them, you expect to beat them. I thought, we're having a little bit of a downturn in form, the first win that we had in January was on the weekend. And that's like nearly 3 weeks into January, in the Premier League, I should say. And then I think the Forest second half, the Brentford, say for at least 70 minutes, and then obviously the Lille game, it kind of dispelled all of the little niggly worries that I've seen, and maybe my PTSD is thinking that maybe we were not as good, or it's going to start to fall away in some capacity. I think these lads are feeling more rested. Knew that he was going to have a tough run of games from Christmas to the back end of January. Wanted to manage it, wanted to do it with a level of efficiency that maybe we're not so used to seeing, and everything had to be a heavy metal full tilt, like leave it all on the pitch or don't come off the pitch at all. I think we've kind of not turned our back away from that, but we don't have to dig to the well as often now, and I think it's about reserving a little something in the tank for when we need it most. And I hope if we do a good enough job of that, there'll be some games where the ante will be up here, but the performance will match it and will blow away a team that you think, Barcelona level blowing away a team, and you
Yeah,
think, how have you pulled that off? But it's because they've got that extra energy to burn for those moments, and it's in reserve. So I'm sitting there hoping that like I can take the positives from the last 3 games. We've been the better team by and large for the majority of them. We get sucker punched in a couple, but it doesn't like our heads don't drop. We don't think, oh, but yeah, at the end of it, we shot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because I think everyone was the same way. Do you like the PTSD element of it, where you're like getting into this stage of the season where, like Slot kept reference it, saying like once you've played 19 games, you can start to look at the table and go, you can kind of make out where the teams are going to be. And obviously, now we're into the second half of the season, and he says like harder because people are buying players and like people have maybe sussed us out a little bit more on what they need to do and all that stuff. But now they've got a few, like especially the Forest game where we should have won it. It was fucking absolutely banging the door down. And then the Brentford win, which I thought was we played really, really well for the majority of that game, getting over the line now. Obviously, then going to them bringing Lille to Anfield, then we've got Ipswich, which we're going to talk about in a minute. It's one of them. Like I know it's like cliche as fucking it like every game at a time, but like and it factors in like the quality that we've got in reserve. Like you can go and bring Elliot in, you can bring the Kwanzaa in, you can bring the Keller on again, who I think's been boss when called on. Absolutely quality. Like all them players you got sat on the bench who can come in and have an effect, and you can give the rest to the other ones. That's and Slot referenced it again after the Lille game. That's what gets you to the end of all of the competitions. That you want to remain in all of them, but you need to have the quality and depth to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, you need to be able to turn to your bench and look at the options you've got and say, right, this is perfect for you. You can have a rest there, manage your minutes a little bit here. You know, we don't risk you if you pulled like Curtis Jones yesterday. Looks like he might have pulled, might have done something with me, but 100% sure. But don't risk it. Lose that same pulls up. Don't risk it. Get off. I think there's something in that, and again, it's not because he's been able to go to the transfer window. Apart from obviously, he's not been able to use that the market and wholesale having this extra squad depth. He's had to find and get players to the level, and not only to the level to say, I can see that there's quality in you, but you might be cold for 4 weeks. But I'm going to call on you in week 5. I need you to play like you've been playing for the last 5 weeks. You've got to get to speed at the same time. I think it's miraculous, and one of the things that I think his strongest quality is, especially this season, it might change over his evolution of being a Liverpool manager, is his in-game reading of football teams.
Quality,
like he reads a book. I enjoy football. I'm not a football professor. He is a professor at football because he doesn't need to. And again, because of his demeanour, I don't think he gives these rallying cries in the dressing room. No. We've got this, and you know what I mean. We are remember the Titans, Denzel Washington type kind of speeches of motivation. He doesn't strike me as a motivational speaker.
It's methodical stuff, innit?
The attention to detail, bro, on that level, because whatever he says, they are respect and take on board. They're able to implement it. He gives them easy, clear instructions to implement more of it. People are saying we're second half FC, but we're not even, apart from the Brentford game, we've not really had that many late goals like we used to with Klopp. It felt like Anfield would be like, let's what I'm going. Let's go. You've got to get it with clocks running down. Angry, aggressive, you know what I mean? And with him, it's just come out within 10 minutes of the second half. Liverpool got a goal. All of a sudden, the complexion of the game, the control of the game, the mentality, the focus, everything shifted. And that's because of him. And I sit there and I'm watching game on game, and I'm like, what is it that you're seeing? Because you're a cheat code. You actually don't understand how much of a cheat code you are. Having your insights in a dressing room more often than not proves invaluable because it works. We come out and we're not a completely different team. It's the fine margins, like you said before, those little fine things that him and his team identify. He's able to articulate it perfect because they get it. They do it. And everyone's just like, I'm not nervous on 70 minutes. But if we do need a late goal, we've then proved that there's the quality that'll come in. They'll shake it up as well. So that to me has been his most impressive quality. It's the second half. That first half, I'll take the first half, 0-0. I don't care. I'm reading that team. From back to front, I'm reading you for 45 minutes. My team don't score, that's fine, because we'll score 2 after the half time.
Exactly.
And he's confident in that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think Fowler asked him after the Lille game, like, you've been, like, he said, something like, paraphrasing, like, you throw caution to the wind a little bit more when you need to. And it took a while to get the question through what he exactly meant, but he kind of meant, like, you're not scared to throw an attacker on if we need it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not because I'm willing to like go against like the defensive like structure, because I know if I bring an attacker on, they're going to know the defensive structure as well. They're going to know where we need to be blocking the ball and all the passing lanes and all that shit. But like, I love it as well. Like, you can see him on the sidelines and you can just see him thinking the cogs wearing, and it's just like you just tell people to go there, like move that round. I think we did it for Klopp for a period. I remember, like, where we wouldn't score in the first half, and then second half we come out and we just fly at them, and we knew we were waiting to see what they were going to do first, and then second half we'd implement what we needed to do to change it. But like, Slot in game is just like, just make little tiny tweaks, like even if it's just like a midfielder moving slightly further left or further wider or whatever.
And that's why I give him so much credit. You know, people talk, and I don't. People talk about, you know, what Arteta's doing for Arsenal. I don't even talk about Arsenal, what Arteta's doing for Arsenal. I think that's where he isn't that level of manager yet, because he hasn't found the recipe or the blueprint to have that same level of effect. Sometimes in big crunch moments, because he's had 3 seasons now where he's been competitive. So in those crunch moments over the course of those years, let him down ever so. Slot gets it from the off, and he's been able to implement it. And say, I still don't think it's all clicked, because we don't. Maybe that's his thing. You know, I want to read the team, and I'm going to tell you how to go and beat that team once I've read them. Fine. I still think there's a way that, as a Liverpool players, they can trust themselves to say, we've got enough about us to just ball out from minute one and have a game done in 60 minutes, and then do the reverse of we'll just control. We'll put a game to bed and come and get the ball off us now.
Take all the big ones off. You know what I mean?
We'll just rest them where we need to, and we'll just take the sting out of the game completely and make it non-competitive. Last 30 minutes become a dead rubber, but you can't lay a glove on us. I still think there's that iteration to come for Liverpool at some point.
Definitely. Well, let's talk about Ipswich then, because we're talking about stuff to come, and Ipswich is next on the horizon. Anfield, 3 o'clock. It's like, a game every like 3 days. It feels like, obviously there's a 4-day gap between this one, but it does feel like there's so many games coming up, and that's kind of like, when it's not going well, you're like, at least there's another game in 3 days. But then when it's going well, when it is going well, you're like, you want the other game to be the next stage. You know what I mean? You want to have more. But yeah, Ipswich got absolutely hammered the other day by City. I'm not expecting that. I've saw people online just saying, like, I'd take a 1-0. I'm of that opinion. Like, I'd take absolutely anything as long as we get over the line. But in terms of like lineup wise, what do you reckon we're gonna do?
Lineup, I think there's an argument to tell Errol to go again, just because that was the first game of the season, if I remember correctly, Ipswich, and he got hooked.
He did,
for 45 minutes. It's kind of like, go and right the wrong there. Go and put in 9. And I'm like, again, I think, you know, Canate probably comes straight back in. He's at the midweek off.
Yeah.
But there's an argument to say, because he's on that confidence now, keep that momentum and let him know you're going to have these 2 games to give Canate the full week off, and then he'll be back. And then there'll be potentially another game for you somewhere, maybe Plymouth in the FA Cup. I'd do that so we can right the wrongs of that first game. Because I don't think he was awful, but I think it was the lap where that was just winning too many duels against them and stuff like that. So I think there's an argument to say him and Nick, Shen comes back in, Birch, I think Robbo comes back in, you're looking at Allison in goal. I think obviously Gavin Birch is definitely a mainstay. I think it's probably going to be Szoboszlai, McAllister. I think it's going to be Nunes through the middle now. I don't know what the situation is with Diaz, but I reckon that it might be a call to rest him this game. Gakpo back on the left, Nunes through the middle, and obviously the main man himself, Mohamed Salah, on the right hand side. I think I could see something like that, and I could live with that absolutely all day.
Yeah, I think mostly when you've got a full lineup, I think it mostly picks itself. But I think when Jota's not fit, Jota, when he is fit, he's in there. But when he's not, it's then you're getting into like Nunes or Diaz, isn't it, basically?
Yeah.
But then we saw Diaz over back on the left again in the Lille game. I'm like, I think that's the only one maybe where he's had some really good games as a 9. Diaz, like Leverkusen, gets to Attrich, unreal, and he's had some good games on the left as well. But it's maybe trying to finding his position might be the one that Slot wants to like kind of drill down in and see what he is going to be long term. But like you said, that team we just picked there, I think that's probably going to be very close. But like, what a team!
What a team again.
Yeah.
The majority of the squad back fit and looking to compete for places again. So yeah, he's not a big wholesale change kind of guy. I think he's kind of got his Prem favourites as well. So tried and tested in the Premier League. Obviously, I expecting now to start to see more inclusion for Chiesa, Harvey Elliott, again showing his ability to come off the bench and influence games. I also would like to think that if we need to call on someone like an Endo, and obviously we go into PSV, we only need to draw and top that group for the Champions League table group stage phase, whatever they want to call it at the moment. And then obviously it's Bournemouth, which is again another big game. So I think he's got his eye firmly on those Premier League games, making sure he's the best available team in them. And then we can do a little bit of juggling in other games, because we're going to have PSV, dead rubber. We're going to have Plymouth, again, not a dead rubber, but the level of opposition. I think our whole squad is probably better than their best player, comfortably. And then obviously the Tottenham game, where I don't think we lose it, but I don't think it's the be all and end all if we don't get through to the final either. I don't think, as long as we don't lose it, I don't think we lose too much momentum in the grand scheme of things. Considering he was there 12 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Spurs one, I think we probably go quite strong. But like you said, the opportunity with PSV being what it is, and the way Plymouth what it is, we can kind of like there's opportunity there. Like I said, Elliott, Quansers, Kellers, and
prove
all that.
yourself, and then go and play in that game, which is competitive, to get us over the line and prove that you should be on the team sheet for the final. Type of situation, you know what I mean? Exactly. Or in the match day squad, whatever it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we'll leave it there. Nice one jumping on, lad. Absolute pleasure. Loads of stuff we talked about there, but yeah. If you're not following Errol, I'm sure you are on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's my main thing at the moment for just like being social. But there's some cool stuff that I'll be getting involved with over the definitely next couple of months with the Redmen and the channel there. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's some exciting things to announce pretty soon on that front. And yeah, there'll be some other little bits popping up over different socials and timelines as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Trying to attack the year. Same way the Reds are. As I say, if you just share the love, I'll share the love back.
Exactly, absolutely smashed that. But you just gave me a little sneak peek of something before. I'm obviously not going to say nothing, but absolutely keep your eyes peeled for it. It's going to be absolutely class. But yeah, nice one, lad, for jumping on. Nice one, everyone, for watching or listening, or if you consume your content. But yeah, that was Pod the Pint episode 8. We'll be back next. I haven't actually done one of these for a couple of weeks, so I can't say I'm going to be back next week. But I'll try and be back next week. But I've got a few on the in the pipeline. I'm going to get you on to. But yeah, nice one for listening, and we'll see you next time. Nice one.
I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Copite Podcast.